Today on Wisdom Journey, I'm joined by Dylan Bost, founder of SunnyHQ, a human-first WordPress hosting and support company helping businesses grow without the tech chaos. With over 30 years in digital systems and more than a decade running a creative agency, Dylan knows what it looks like to build something that works on the outside but drains you on the inside. After hitting that, he rebuilt not just his business model but his philosophy, shifting from reactive hustle to intentional aligned systems that actually give founders their lives back. Welcome to the podcast, Deep.
Thanks so much, Wisdom. It's good to be here.
Wow. I would love for you to take us back to before SunnyHQ. What were you building and what did success look like at that time?
Yeah. So before SunnyHQ, I built a business kind of right out of school. Basically, I had a couple of different gigs, but built an advertising marketing business. And so in the beginning, it was just two of us, and we were web design. And of course, that grew over nearly 10 years into a full agency. So we were doing marketing, advertising, branding for a bunch of really beautiful companies.
Earlier on, I mentioned I was reading at the intro. From the outside, your agency looked successful. What was happening behind the scenes that people couldn't see before you, of course, remodeled and changed the business model to what it is?
Yes. Really a lot of this, I want to be really clear, comes from the reflection. It's very hard often when we're in the middle of things, as I was, to really understand what was going on. So from the outside and on paper, everything looked fantastic. We had lots of customers or clients and a full staff of about 25 or so people. All the awards, lots of revenue. It looked really good. And though I remember at one point standing up in my office and I didn't know where this thought came from. It really shocked me as I thought, because here's something, keep in mind, right? Like all of us, we go to work and let's just say we're fulfilled by the work, as I was, excited about the people that I worked with. But I really had this thought that what was the value of what I was doing? Like, what was the intrinsic cultural value? We're branding and marketing, right? So we're creating communications for businesses to connect with their customers. And I'd never asked myself this question. I'd never asked myself in the beginning of the business, the why I want to do this. For me, it was a passion, right? I enjoy doing this, so why not do it? And this was the first time in my life that I'd really reflected on the idea of what was going to be the value of this in, say, 10 years. And the answer was really scary to me. The answer was I couldn't see any, right? I thought, maybe at the time we were building, I know, a really large website for a bank in the United States and had lots of other customers. And day to day, it was really wonderful. Day to day, we were connecting with people and making things happen. But, I really thought, in 10 years, no one's going to care about this piece of communication. No one's going to care about this logo or that website or that ad campaign. And that for me was really core, right? It really, I sat and I didn't have to further back it up, I didn't have the answer to that. So this is also the first time in my life when I sincerely didn't have the answer, and that part left me in a quandary. And so then what started to happen is the erosion. When I look at it in the past, I say, what? As the business collapsed, there's no doubt I made it collapse. The answer to my question should have at very least been at that time, because I know I asked myself, how can you get yourself out of this? I've got all of these people that I'm responsible to for giving them a job and giving them some kind of future, and to say nothing of the fact that I was, thinking about my family and I'm supposed to provide for them. So how do I, at this point, shift? And then what do I shift to? I'd always had a direction, right? I'd always known when I was in school, I was ready for the next thing. And even backwards, in high school, I was ready for college. In college, I was ready for this. I ran a little business on the side and I worked for this company over here. And now I'm going to start this business. So not only did I not know what to do about where I was, I didn't know where to go from there. And that's one of the key things, to me, to achieve anything in life, I believe we don't have to know how to do it, but we do need two things. We need to know where we are at that given time, and we need to
Yeah.
know where we want to go. And here's a situation when I didn't really feel like I had either of those things. So it was very, very challenging.
Wow. Was it scary to walk away from a model that was technically work?
Well, I'd say it was scary, but in reality, because of my actions, because of not asking for help, alcohol entered the picture. That started as a lubricant, right? It started as a way to avoid and not feel the feelings and not make the decisions. So I didn't really get a chance to walk away from it. I pushed it to a place where the business was gone, and
Wow.
and part of that was aided by 2008 and the housing fall. We had a
Yeah.
lot of business in the real estate development world, and so we were left holding, about 30% of our annual revenue was gone because of that loss of business. And so, that didn't help. It was definitely not the reason. We could have made things work, but in reality, because I did not try to because I didn't try to figure out what to do and I didn't ask for help, the reality is, I made it a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I drove it to a place where, okay, well, this no longer exists. You have no other choice. So Dylan, you have to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And so, I'd love to say maybe I had that opportunity to figure it out that way, but I made it worse.
Okay. When you started building SunnyHQ, what did you refuse to repeat?
I a lot of things. The biggest thing that I refused to repeat, or maybe to flip it, is I chose to do differently was to really look at what developing a business meant more holistically, right? What does that mean to my personal time? What does that mean? These are all things I ignored. When I started my first business, just go, right? Let's get together. Let's do this. We've got this service. We got some customers. Go. I ignored the fact that I need personal time for me. I need time for my children and time for my wife. So that's a big part of when I looked to design this new business. It was, what do I want my life to look like? And that really became the driving force. Not what do I want to sell? That's important. It wasn't, how much money can I make? That's important, but it was combined with, okay, I don't want this. This cannot be an overwhelming endeavor for me. I don't want to spend. I've already done the thing where you work 12 hours a day, year after year. I want to work, let's say, on this project. Now, in the beginning, of course, it took longer, but I was trying to set a goal was, when this is running, right, I want it to consume, a half a day, 4 hours, 5 hours of time, to give me some time to be there for my family, to give me some time to explore other things. I've always liked to do that. Since I was little, I always dabbled in a lot of different things and wore a lot of hats, and I enjoy that. And that's to a place where, as I did a lot of investigation into the kind of business I wanted to start, was to give more air and clear space around it, so that the natural things that kind of come into your life, you can start to explore them.
Oh, how do you design systems that give energy back instead of draining it?
You start with, I don't know, I say you start with the breath, right? I mean, it's really important to get in touch with what's happening within you before you start any process. And so, a key part of that is designing a business that isn't, urgent based. And I had a
Oh,
lot of experience with this. You run an agency, there's always something there, right? There's always a client. We probably had, at any given time, 10 to 20 clients. So, we were running, hundreds of projects. So as you can imagine, there's always a problem. There's always
yeah.
something to solve. There's a computer issue with this. There's a finance issue over here. There's a client that's got some campaign that's late, but there's always those things. And so you can, in any business though, and you should really look at what processes to put in place, what technology to put in place, how to build the culture so that we're not accepting of urgency. I did start that a little bit in the agency. It was my kind of first taste. I remember I had an account staff of 4 or 5 people. And so these are the people that are responsible directly to our clients. And what I explained to them is for instance, clients ask for things all the time. That's not bad. That's what they do, right? We are providing a service to them. But where you have to develop boundaries, for instance, is clients may be up until midnight or 2 a.m. and asking questions because that's the time that they have to settle. But we should not feel the need to respond at that time. We can't be, we're not emergency service workers, right? So we can't have emergency service hours. And there's a fine line in there, definitely. But what I was training them to do is because that's the urgency, right? If you're always there every second, then the second you're not there creates a problem on top of the challenge at hand. And so, by holding tight to that for me, what that looks like even now, if I'm up, I try not to look at email at all, but I do every once in a while. And if an email comes in or a support item comes in or something that I might deem even as urgent, not an emergency, but it seems urgent because it is to the client, I may respond to that. I'll assess it. If it truly is an emergency, I've got someone that can take care of it. But more importantly, rather than hit send on the email, and this is a simple tool, right? I'll schedule it to send out in the morning at 7:30 a.m., or I'll schedule it to send out later in the day, whatever that is, because if we are immediately responding or reactive rather to things that the other person feels is urgent, the first real choice there is to decide, is this honestly an urgent situation? Sometimes it is, and it needs to be. But if it's not, if you create a behavior there where I'm always responsive to those situations, then a lot of the accountability shifts over to you when it honestly should be on the other person. So there's no doubt there's a fine line in there and it can be tricky, but it's important to find the goal there is to find the boundaries where you believe. And so I took those ideas and built them into our culture at SunnyHQ.
So one of the things you talked about, the last thing we were talking about was the human first approach and scheduling the emails. I'm curious. One of the things you talk about is you say most founders think they have a leads problem, but you say that's not the case. I'm curious, what exactly is the problem if it's not the problem of leads? Hey, quick break. Before we continue, I'd love for you to join the Wisdom Journey newsletter. Every week, I share exclusive insights, tools, and behind-the-scenes updates to help you stay ahead in your own journey of building an online business. It's simple, practical, and built to help you grow. Sign up today for free at the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Well, I think it's kind of twofold. It's looking for, quantity over quality, right? It's looking for, because leads don't, to me, translate into business. Yes, they are a factor, but what we want is we want quality, right? We want to make sure we're connecting with our customer. The service, for instance, that SunnyHQ has is to offer is not for every company out there. And in fact, I've turned away business like, we're not the right fit. Oh, but I really want to work with you. Well, we're not the right fit. And so it's important to define your customer. It's important to define, especially in the service industry, right? Because those are more partnerships than products. But it's important for you to really get serious with yourself and recognize too, the way that I look at it, there's more than enough business out there for everyone. I think, and I fell into this trap in my agency life where we believe, man, we have to get everything. When we lost business, it was crushing. It was like, why did we lose that? And when in reality, the way I look at that now is that wasn't the right situation for us. There's something that we communicated to them that didn't align, and that's okay. You know what? Turning your attention to really getting focused about what it is you do well, and the why that you do that, and communicating that to the world, that's where you want that alignment to come. And so, for instance, if the place where that starts to really show up, right, is, let's say, for instance, we started to get at SunnyHQ, let's say we started to get 100 calls a week. Well, I can guarantee you that if we got 100 calls a week, it would be crushing for us, right? I mean, we would be scrambling to answer the phone, or let's even say that we can start to respond to those. We won't be able to do the job that we do in that at the high service level that we offer
Yeah.
to that many people. And in reality, what I know is if I have attracted that many people and my message isn't targeted, then there's no doubt, and this still happens. Our message is very targeted. We dial in on it every day, but still we have people that call, for instance, say, why do you cost so much more than GoDaddy? Right.
Yeah.
And I explain right away, right? I explain that, look, here's the thing, we offer a different level of service. We charge $200 a month because of the level of service. You're not used to that. And once I explain it to them, there's an education piece. Some people say, yeah, that's exactly what I need. Others say, no, I can do it myself. And I'm saying, you're right. You can do it yourself. It's all how you value your time. But the important thing there is if I start to answer call after call or email after email, that's all about, let's just say, price, right? Because I haven't done a good enough job to fully explain why something is, then the issue is now I've wasted hours a day to not get business. So that's the problem,
Yeah.
right? So it comes with refining that message, because what you really want, you want business that, like what we get more of today. We've done a lot of work with AI for generative engine optimization, and our message is really dialed in, and we get the quality of lead that we get is really, really high. We get people that say, I want this, when can you start? Not with a lot
Wow.
of questions. But and that's the important part. You really want, you want leads that are going to convert. You don't just want leads. So that's your question. It's right. How to get leads that convert, not how to get leads, because there's a lot of companies out there that will sell your product. But the problem is, will they, when they finally get to the person that's going to, that's going to take them to the next level, allow them to convert, fill out the form, are they going to convert, or are they going to create, hours and hours of time, to maybe get them to convert?
Wow. I really love how you broke that down. What are the mistakes in terms of operation that slow down the growth of a business?
Okay. Well, that's one. I mean, I think you got it. Well, you've got on the sales side, you definitely got looking for quantity over quality. Culturally, not having alignment culturally is a huge one. At the end of the day, that whether you're a project coordinator, an account person, or the person, let's say, that's actually doing, the work that's developing the service, all of those people play a really distinct role. And I think that when you bring someone on in really helping them learn, not just what you're trying to provide your customers, but essentially, the background for why that's important, and their role specifically in that. I learned this when I spent time at Walt Disney Imagineering, and honestly, I don't know that there's anyone that does it, any company that does it better than Disney. They they call their employees, they don't refer to them as employees, they're called cast members, and every cast member has a role to play. And so what that looks like to the public, right, is that when you are on site or when you're watching a movie, right, everyone that was responsible for that connection, understands how important their role is. So whether it's, a hot dog vendor at Disney, or whether it's someone that picks up trash or runs a ride or builds the ride, they realize that they all play a role in helping the customer enjoy their time there, or helping them enjoy that movie. And so that really touched me, and I learned that, and we can take that to all of our businesses, because it's really important that the people within the business understand the gravity of what they're doing.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much. You've led
Yeah.
creative teams, you built technical systems. How do those two words shape how you lead now and what you do now?
I mean, I'd look at it. We've talked about a lot of it. I mean, I look at the opportunities that I have to affect real change in our customers' lives. And here, I mean, we deliver a technical service, but the way that what I believe that means to me and what I believe that means to my staff, and we talk about this regularly, you know, you can look at it two different ways. You can approach something like a job and simply run the task, or you can believe and truly understand, right? That the way that I look at it, let's say a customer sends us a support ticket or calls us on the phone. Um, no doubt, they're running a business and they've got some problem. Let's say a form isn't working on their website. Most likely they're reactive about that, and they should be, right? They're experiencing a pain point because they woke up to be on one path to do their job, and now here's this thing that they have no concept of how to fix it. And these things can be, even, let's say it's some problem with their form. You could look at like that, oh, it's just this form thing, I'll get to it when I can. But the opportunity there is to really jump on it and fix it and shine, right? The opportunity is to say, man, we got you. It's fixed. And we see that as evidence in the way our customers work with us. They love that fact. I mean, we celebrate the fact that we turn around almost every issue in less than 2 hours. Usually it's less than an hour, but less than 2 hours, we've fixed almost any issue with our customers' websites. Even if it's a large issue, it rarely goes beyond an entire day. And what that means to us, right, is that they get to then focus on what pushes their business forward, and they're not annoyed with that thing. I can't tell you how many times we have people that come to us and ask us about our services, and without even understanding from them, I can start to say, I bet you're experiencing one of these problems. And they're nodding their head. They're like, you're absolutely right. I've had this and this and this that I've needed to get fixed or worked on, or this was broken, or needed this piece of content uploaded. That's been going on for now over a week or 2 weeks, or worst case, longer than that. And when we come in, I look at it and I go, I don't understand why that's taken that long. We can fix that immediately. And so I recognize, because I've been on the other side, right? Think about it. Think about when you have a problem, or I know when I do, and I call a company, and the first thing we get is that call tree, right? And I'm like, oh, just let me speak to a person. 0, 0, 0. That doesn't happen. The call tree loops. By the time I get to speak to someone, I'm usually pretty frustrated. And I'm like, just fix this thing. It can't be this hard. And usually it's not, but those systems drive to more time and more time. And so I look at that as a huge opportunity. I'm like, what if we're not like that, right? What if we fix it really fast? Not only do we enjoy our lives more, but man, the people on the other end of the line are like, these guys are great. It's fantastic.
Oh, I really love that approach to doing business, because especially the kind of work you do, right? If your website is down or something like that happens, for every time the website is down, the business is losing money.
Yeah.
You're writing the 7 mirrors. How do memory and reflection influence leadership? I know most of what you've talked about reflection, but I'm curious, what about the memory part?
Well, I wrote the book and it's for high achieving leaders, right? Who feel really internally misaligned. And the idea is it's supposed to help us, uncover unconscious patterns that are running our lives, and so that we can design what's next. So, the idea that I found is that in my own life, I reflected back, no pun there. I literally reflected back and found that in different situations, the collective learning of that came down to this paradigm where I see an opportunity, whether that's in another person or in a situation, that when things are happening outside ourselves, it simply is a reflection, I believe, of what's happening inside ourselves. So if I hit a situation in our business, and it's something that's reoccurring, it's because I literally haven't looked and said, well, why am I making that reoccur? Because I have an opportunity to fix that. If it's happened more than once, then there's a pattern. So what is that pattern? Is that the way that I'm dealing? Is that how I'm helping my staff? Is that how I'm talking to a customer? Am I not communicating correctly? And if I really evaluate those things, then I can learn from them. So that's the basis, right? It's a series of stories of experiences that I've had, but with kind of an aha in each chapter that says, okay, here's what I gained from this, and then more importantly, in the past 10 years, here's what I've done so that I don't repeat those patterns over and over. Here are the practices that I've put into place that essentially have helped to rewire my nervous system. They've helped me to be responsive over reactive. They've uncovered awarenesses about my childhood as well as awarenesses about my present.
Well, we've talked so much about building a human first business, and you've shared your own story. I'm curious, as a pineapple, if someone listening feels stretched thin and stuck in the reactive mode, what's one foundational shift they can make?
Love this one. The most important thing I think you can do, honestly, from the beginning, this is a practice I have every day, is deep breathing. We forget the power that we have. For years, I spent all my time in my mind, right? My mind can solve everything, here, and it does, right? The mind's job, our brain's job is a supercomputer. It solves problems all day long. When we don't give it a problem, right, it seeks to find problems to solve. And what that does is it generates a chatter. And the best way that we can start to kind of interrupt that cycle, to give ourselves a moment to truly evaluate things, is with the breath. So that looks like, there's some simple techniques. I learned this in a lot of different formats from a lot of different groups. One of my favorite is Navy SEALs, the box breath, right? Just 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, right? It's just this calmness that we can gain. This is a practice I have throughout the day, whether I'm just going to jump to answer an email, jump on a podcast, jump to a Zoom meeting with a client, meet with someone in person, or personal issues, right? I take a moment to have a breath, to ground myself before I move forward.
Wow. Looking ahead.
Well, with the 7 mirrors, I'm right at the finish line there. I'm finishing up the last chapter and doing a polish round. And so I'm really, really excited to get that book published. Talking with a few publishers. And so that will be published sometime later this year. The after that, there'll be a big part of my time that will be spent in speaking. And I'm developing an online program that really will help someone connect with that in a deeper way and move forward in some different aspects to that online side. And so I'm really looking at connecting with a lot of people out there. The really cool thing is I've seen more evidence of beautiful awareness and human connection in the world, in the business world, and what I look forward to is using this book as an opportunity to connect with people out there that really want to help people in their lives. And so that's a big part. I've also, I've got a lot of things going. I've recently developed a software product that I'm working with a few folks to bring to life. And then, of course, SunnyHQ. SunnyHQ is running well, and look forward as that platform continues to blossom, and we help lots of customers out there that have WordPress websites.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah.
Where can listeners learn more about the work you're doing?
Yeah, you can definitely go one of two places on the WordPress website stuff, sunnyhq.io/podcast. And we've got a way you can connect with us there. There's a free PDF download that'll help you really just start to evaluate your own website and some things. We've got some quick tips and tricks. And then, of course, you can connect with us online there. And then if you're interested in me and the book, just go to dylanclaytonbost.com.
Thanks for tuning into Wisdom Journey. I hope today's episode gave you practical steps and fresh ideas to keep moving forward. If you found value, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a fellow creator or entrepreneur who'd love to learn too. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and the link in the description for more resources, experiments, and lessons straight to your inbox. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep walking your own wisdom journey. Yeah.